a voice. My School News TV, giving you a voice.
Hello, Facebook fans, and hello, YouTubers. And I believe that you are having, a wonderful day. Though I know the day is still very hot for many of us, but I strongly believe that your day is going well and very productive. Well, just in case your day is not yet productive, my School News TV got you covered today with a very productive and I believe result-oriented, same thing, right? Result-oriented program for you. Yes, and I have with me today in the studio someone very special, but I think I should start by saying hi to him before I introduce him to us all. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing fine. So, guys, as you can see on your screen, we're basically looking at what a lot of people do not tell you about examination success, right? And with me in the studio, as you can see on your screen, is the best graduating student of Mass Communication Department, O23 sets, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And then you'll be asking, why did I bring in this person? Because I believe some of us here have a notion that, most BGSs were just all about bookworm, bookworm, bookworm. Well, we're going to know a lot of things today. We're going to know a lot of things, and I'm going to leave this up on your own part now to give judgment if this is just a book I'm standing before you. But from my judgment, not at all, guys, not at all. I believe he has, so much to give concerning this topic. So first of all, we're going to be asking, what exactly is academic excellence? What exactly is academic success? When one hear academic excellence, what should come to mind?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Yeah.
I think when we look at academic success, we many times are tempted to just look at A's and B's and
Yeah.
C's. So we are looking at grades basically. But I think academic success is much more than that. Even though the word academics
She's showing the results.
yes, but
Yeah.
it's definitely much more than that. So for me personally, I just think that academic success is one giving his or her best to your books. Just do your best, and whatever the grade is, you have done your best, and that's excellent. That's
And I don't
success
think
for
your
me.
best will take you so low.
Yes, I always say that.
Yes.
I don't think one's best should
Take
ever
you-
be a C. Most likely you will definitely get maybe a B, if not an A, and one or two times a C. But academic success, you giving your best to your books means that you should get at least a B from me.
Well, I think that depends on your intelligent quotient and maybe we're going to look into all those things. Let me not just
Yes,
go there right
yes,
now.
yes.
So before we start talking about this excellence, why should one pursue academic excellence? I think if we clear that air, it will make them see that there's need for me to follow through this program, right? But then, sorry, before I give this answer, if you are viewing at the moment, do well to like, do well to comment, do well to share this program, and yes, do well to also let us know your name and where you're streaming live from right there in the comment section. Thank you.
So what is academic excellence? That's what.
Why should I pursue?
Why should one pursue academic excellence?
Yes.
For me, well, I can't speak for the generality of people. I can't speak for all students. I was just a student actually, and I had my own different goals and aspirations. But generally, when I look at why I pursued academic excellence, first I want to be very practical with it. It's a very practical question, so let's just be practical about
Yeah,
it. First, education is very expensive.
very true. Very,
expensive.
very, very true. Even in the federal government school.
Yes, even especially in federal government.
Yes.
So education is, because in federal government schools, it's expected that it will be a little bit cheaper and everybody can afford, everybody can go to school. But now it's even very expensive there. Private schools, because of the nature of the type of schooling, yes, it's going to be expensive. But in federal government schools where you expect it to be a little bit cheaper or so, it's even expensive. So one of the reasons why I personally had to read my books were because education is expensive. I sat down then and calculated how much I spent on books every semester, and it was just too outrageous, and it would be injustice to not read it. So I thought of, okay, if I then in Federal Polytechnic Oko, before I came to University of Nigeria, if I could be spending as at 2016, 2017, if I could be spending 20K plus on buying textbooks, and I would just be using it for, let's say, 3 months, and I'll have to spend that amount of money again to purchase a new set of books, why would I not read them? So that was basically my problem. That was really the problem for me, or the reason for me. If I could spend this amount of money on books, I must read them. So it was not necessarily because I wanted to get A, I wanted to get B, I wanted to get a good grade or get a good job. All those things were...
I don't want to waste resources.
I just don't want to waste resources. So basically, if my mom could send that amount, my dad could send an amount, then I had no reason to not read it. So I had to sit down and just show diligence and just read through the books. So that was the first part of it. Then generally, if one wants to talk about the reason to pursue academic excellence, aside from diligence and being a manager of resources, the world we are in, actually, even though we are now focused on skills and all of this stuff, it is still good enough. It is still a very good thing to show that while you were a student, you could actually focus on why you were there.
Yes.
Now, it's also the same practice that comes when you are being employed, when you are being mobilized to do certain things. There would always be distractions around. There would always be things to try to take away your attention from the primary reason why you are there. So it is excellence if you can actually focus on that particular thing, why you explore other things to the best of your ability, but focus on a particular thing. So pursuing academic excellence also shows how much you can focus on a particular thing, focus on the primary purpose why you are engaged in a particular thing. So I think that's also then there's also the job factor too. We're in a society where so many young persons, even those qualified educationally or academically, are not even employed. So it's a disadvantage. It's a disadvantage to have the opportunity to go to school, which so many persons don't have, and you are wasting it.
Yeah.
Presently, we have, I think, about over 10 million out of school children, and we're just looking at
over 10
million out of school children. That's to provide a conservative estimate. We are not less than 10. There are not less than 10 billion out of school children in Nigeria.
Not at all.
And that's
and it's increasing by the day.
It's increasing.
Yes.
So we are also talking about so many thousands, if not millions, unemployable graduates. So if you don't have the academic qualification, you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. Yes, skills are good. It is good to be entrepreneurial, but I read something in one place, and the person said that it's better to have the certificate and not need it than later on need the certificate and not have it.
And come to think of it, when they request for your CV, something that must be there, no matter the number of skills you're going to put, in order of appearance, must be academic records and all of that. Like you'll be wondering why. I mean, you just saw my video and you like what I do, but you're still requesting for my CV.
That's just the nature of the world. Right? Informal education is much more than grades. Many times you are exposed to a lot of courses, a lot of disciplines that allows you to think outside the box, that allows you to understand how life is.
Very true.
It's also important that education generally helps people to understand, or not just understand. When you understand someone's perspective, culture, you can reason like the person. Even if the person is making a mistake, you can see where the person is making that mistake. You can be tolerant.
Very true. I mean, a lot of experience is gathered in the academic environment.
Exactly. So
just beyond even the A's you get.
Just beyond the A's. So pursuing academic excellence shows diligence. It shows that you are aware that so many persons don't actually have this opportunity. So it's an opportunity. And academics opens lots of doors for you. Academic excellence also does the same thing. Doing your best in your studies helps you to discover yourself. You find out your
areas you're passionate about.
That's just it. So
that makes sense.
It's just more than getting A's. Like it is said, not everybody will get A, but everybody can come to the point where you say that in school I did the best I could have possibly done. For many persons I've met, I have discovered that you don't judge people by their grades, not even by their grade points.
Very true.
Because people have different experiences. I was more fortunate than other people in the sense that I came into school and I met people that immediately grabbed me, showed me one or two things to do, and I didn't get to explore the school
and then
on my own.
And then there were people who made so much mistake in the first year.
Exactly. So those persons
We're celebrating their D's and E's. Saying, as far as I did not have
it's even much more than, I'm talking about more than just academics. So persons had life experiences that ensured that they could never get A's. Even if they had A's, they were already broken. So when you hear young people and before you know, they found themselves in court without their knowledge.
Very true,
and just peer pressure and all these things. And because of that, from the beginning, they were already scattered, too scattered, and the rest of the years we just need to manage and come out with something. And if those persons actually do graduate and come out with something, you can't say the person failed. Even though the person may come out with a 2-2,
it was just a big struggle.
It was just a struggle, and it is a plus. It is an advantage. It is commendable actually that such a person could go through that phase and still graduate. For me, I look much more than, I judge excellence much more than how many A's one gathers in the university or how many B's you have, or whether it is first class or 2-1 or 2-2. Mine is considering everything you went through, considering your experiences both at home, family. Some people lost their parents. Some persons had to drop out, defer, come back.
Some had to walk.
Some persons had to
in
walk
between.
Exactly. I know persons that had to mold blocks. You know, all these other experiences. If such a person graduates, if the person could make a 2-1, even a 2-2, a first class, whatever it is, that person has shown diligence. The person has learned the necessary life skills that formal education is supposed to teach, and that person is successful in my own estimate. So that's what I would say. For those that,
at that point, that person came out his best or her best despite the hurdles.
Exactly. So you cannot say that because this person did not have a first class, the person failed, or is a student that did not give his or her best. No. So even though that, and even for some persons like us that had first class or best graduating, it is much more than just personal effort. I don't think there's anybody that could say that they were self-made. Maybe some persons could be bold enough to say it, but I can't.
Nobody is.
I can't. I can really recall that there are many times I had to get notes from classmates because I could not attend the class. There's many times I had to go through one or two challenges and people helped me, encouraged me. There are many times there are many experiences, there are many friends littered around that ensured that I did not break down. So if I had broken down then, I would never have emerged with what I emerged. So academics generally is much more than academic excellence rather. It's much more than having first class or 2-1 or 2-2 or whatever grading system we have. So that's my own personal understanding of it. So
for people who are watching at the moment, you know, some people would have just taken so much comfort right now and say, okay, this is perfect for me. It means I am excellent despite so what's the yardstick to measure that you are doing your best academically? What yardstick can one use to measure that I might not be a first class student, I might not always have the A's, but I am doing my best?
Well, different persons have different ways they see academics. From the outset, I understood that I was a kind of person and it's different from other kinds of persons. So for me, what I use to measure my best is, I usually say it's a crazy idea I got. I usually look at it this way: if I read as much as I can, if I give considerable time to my studies, and I see a course where I had, for instance, a C, I usually look at it that if I could have a C in a course, I could most likely get a B. If I had done one or two things right. If I had a B in the course, it means that it could have been attainable to get an A. So I viewed it that way. That if I had a C, it means that okay, I could have gotten an A here, a B here. If I had a B, I could have gotten a C here. So I was always looking for ways to improve. And improvement is not just reading your books a few days to the exams and all of those stuff. It's part of it. For me personally, I have to start reading way ahead of the semester. So I try as much as possible before the semester commences. I've done at least half of the textbooks I necessarily need to study that particular semester. So it gives me a little bit of time. So I have the time to understand. Now, for some persons, measuring their yardstick they would say that, okay, I read. You read, but not so many persons read and understand at the same pace as you are doing, as I'm doing. If I read once before the semester and I read it again, and before the exams I'm reading it the third time, yes, I understand. Maybe I'm somebody that is slow to understand. I can't cram. There are other persons that could read it once and get it. So for a person that can read it once and get it, you have to ensure that you keep pushing yourself. Even if you can do it once and you can get it right, you still do it again so that you know that's humanly possible. Telling yourself the truth, you can say that you did what you could have done. You take your assignment seriously, you attend classes. Why not also neglecting other things that you could have done? Because the school environment is broad and wide and diverse. There are other interesting things you could engage yourself in, but you ensure that you have the balance in the sense that as you progress, you give your best. I don't know, I don't know how people lie to themselves, but if I have done my best in a particular course, I can say that I've done my best. There's nothing I could have done more than this.
Very true. Very true.
So for many persons that could gullibly tell themselves that hey, I've given my best, but this is what I can.
Yeah, sure. They don't read night class.
They just crashed through the course and expected to emerge one of the best in that particular course. But that's not how it is. When you give your best, you can find areas that you deviated, though you may not have given 100%. Maybe initially you started giving 70, and you see the output. You can now try to improve on it. Sometimes, even if the output does not correspond with your effort, you have to ensure that you realize that studying academics is not because of the grade, because of diligence. I have to be able to say that when I was in school, if I have a kid or I have a family and I'm telling my children, I will tell my children that when I was in school, even if it's a 2-1, even if it's a 2-2, at the circumstance that I was in, then I gave the best I could have possibly given. It's better to encourage people from experience of triumph than give them stories of regret.
Yeah.
It's better to tell young persons that, tell my child or my son, my daughter, that look at what I did. I did the best I could do. And this is what I came out with. You said give your own best. One of the very first things I get to tell first year students when I get to meet with them is that everybody comes here to study, but with different backgrounds, different experiences from schools, even different WAEC result and JAMB result. The very first thing I tell them is your WAEC result and your JAMB result does not matter anymore.
Big time.
It doesn't.
It doesn't even make you the best student anymore.
It does nothing anymore to you. You have,
even if it's called 400 in your pussy,
even if exactly, you know, when you meet freshers, some of them usually associate.
Are you one on the merit list?
Many of them usually associate with some type of person. They'll be like, which school did you go to? One private school in the backyard of
grammar school.
I went to a model college, one of the best in this. You know, those kind of stuff. I paid 900,000, 1 million naira for my wife. Why you government?
Congratulations, come and sit.
So you have exhausted it, and you have it has taken you as far as it can. Right now you're in school. Just assume that everybody's equal. So you forget about how you got into the school and you start to work. So when people don't have this mindset towards approaching academics, they may just think that since I got 214, actually I did get 214 in JAM. I did get 214. So since I got 214 and you got
to BDS.
Since I got 214 and you had 360, I don't think you're that smart.
Yeah, you know that. Yes.
So with that, people put themselves at the
people when you go around with your 3 files, you tend to hide your WAEC result, JAMB result.
Some persons have all A's.
Yeah, those ones will be bragging.
So those ones would actually be. My school was this. Mine was a state government school, and the state government paid for my WAEC. So I know of a few persons that paid up to $1 million then to write WAEC, but we all wrote it and we all came to the university.
That's the thing.
And we all left differently. So these are some of the little things you know. You gave your best then in school, in secondary school. Forget about it. Here is a different ball game altogether. Start doing the same thing. Start putting more effort. Start meeting different people. Realize that the advantages you had, not so many persons had it. If they had the same advantage you had, they may have done better than you did. So you put all those biases aside and you focus on the game.
All right. So, when you go out, maybe seminars and all of that, you tend to meet some very successful people and ask them, what's the secret to success? And the next thing some people begin to tell you is, there is no much secret. Just do this and just be diligent. I feel that does not give people, the detailed step-by-step procedure on how that person made it, actually.
Yeah.
Then you see some of them now go further to have maybe personalized courses where you have to pay so much money for them to really give you the secret. Why am I saying this? I really want to ask now what the secret is. And I really don't want you to say just diligent. I want you to go detailed to how you carried your case and how you've seen other people who you believe did well as well, carried their matter, carried themselves to the point of success.
Well, we started looking at what success actually can be.
Yeah.
So if we are looking at secret to success with regards to
Academics.
A's and a good grade point.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to actually answer that question, but I'll try as much as possible to provide my own how I went about with things while I was in school. For me personally, I had to realize that I was not so brilliant. After all, I had 214. So persons actually took the same exam and had much more. So I realized that I wasn't all that special, so to say. So I started meticulously paying attention when lectures were being given. Now I'm not saying maybe let me start from the point that I was angry. The way I started going about academics was I went towards it from the place of anger.
Okay, why? What kind of anger was that?
After I got 214 and I got enrolled in Federal Polytechnic before joining here. So when I got to school and I sit down, when lecturers try to teach and many times they deviate and they get to talk about lots of stuff and it's interesting to many persons. People laugh about it and it's a fun lecture. Why very little knowledge is passed. So I usually get angry. I'll just sit down and I'll be angry. Who is this man? I usually check how much is being spent, the time I'm spending, and if you're not giving me something equivalent to that, I'll be pissed. I'll be angry. I'll be like, oh yeah, teach us now.
Someone say about their family, their children.
Yes, all these jokes. We
The
can
same
do that
story every day.
We can do that later. Just teach us. Let us move on. Teach us. Try to teach us. So I guess that propelled me to look for alternative means of gathering knowledge. And then I think what most students don't do is, I may be wrong on this, but most of them never read the textbook. Most of them read parts of the textbook, but not all of the textbook.
Most don't even open the textbook.
Most don't read.
They are good with the material that was someone's notes that was copied
and something like that. So most don't. If there's a textbook for the course, most people don't read all of the textbook, and those that do don't read it on time. There's too many information in a particular book. Some of those books, it takes the lecturer sometimes 6 months of gathering experiences, materials written over the years. You don't expect yourself to understand it in just a few days of looking at it. So from the personal experience I've had, even in Oko and in Union here, most people don't read the textbook. So if you actually sit down and read all of the textbook, that's a practical thing for me. If you begin the textbook and finish it, there's a tendency that you will grasp much more than when you just run through it a night before the exam.
Guys, secret number 1. Study your textbook.
So just
like
read the textbook.
Back to back, cover to cover, right?
So it's
all right. So before he gives us more secret, I'm going to give us, just a very short break. We're going to be going on a very, very short break. And when we are back, you will get to know many more secrets. So kindly hit the comment section and let me know how many of your textbooks you read cover to cover since you started your first year. See you when we're back.
Welcome to Fun Store, where the best finds await you. Step into a world of choices at our physical store, or simply click your way to incredible deals on our online platform. Discover a seamless blend of convenience and style. Explore the aisles in store for a hands-on shopping experience. Can't make it to us? No worries. Shop effortlessly from your home. Quality meets convenience with just a click. From our shelves to your doorstep, we bring the store to you. Indulge in a curated selection that speaks to your unique taste. Whether in-store or online, Fun Store is where shopping dreams come true. Fun Store is more than just a store, it's a lifestyle. A lifestyle that celebrates your individuality, creativity, and passion. So don't wait. Visit Fun Store today and discover the difference. Fun Store, where you belong.
My School News TV, giving you a voice.
Welcome back, guys. Oh, welcome back. And yes, we're still right behind the in front of the camera, right? Not behind the camera. We're still right in front of your camera to give you sweet secrets, sweet bitter secrets maybe. And yes, you're still on My School News TV on Student Corner. Today you are looking at those things people don't tell you, those things you would not easily find on the paper as to things that would drive academic excellence. And the first secret he gave to academic excellence is something that a lot of us has really trivialized, which I believe strongly from my experience in school, is reading your textbook. In fact, how many people buy textbooks? Let's not go to people buy recommended, like not even recommended, compulsory textbooks that would affect your score. So there are students that believe, in fact, most students believe that if they say, okay, this lecturer has a textbook, is he giving score?
Yeah, if he's not giving score.
So if there's no score, what am I using your textbook to do? Okay, keep it. So we feel like they want to photocopy that textbook. And I've realized over the years that, let me just say, 5% of people who photocopy actually read photocopy textbooks. Yes, because photocopy textbooks are, I think they are not really enjoyable. There's a difference between you holding a very little, well printed, maybe brown paper textbook and reading this large photocopied, So sometimes people, I'm just giving an example though, a lot of people do not read their textbook. And then he said, not just reading it, not just scanning and skimming through, but reading cover to cover is one major secret to writing beyond your peers. So yes, let's give it to him again.
So on reading the textbook, the point is not essentially to remember everything in the book. It's just to, provided I understand exactly what I'm reading at that particular time, I'm fine. Recall is a different kettle of fish, but at that point, if I can understand, that's why I personally read ahead of the semester. So if I can recall what is written, I'm fine. The point is not to come to the exam hall and produce everything you've read.
10 pages, extra sheets, sir.
The thing with reading your textbook is that you get a well-grounded knowledge about that particular course you're studying or that particular course you're writing. Now, when you have a foreground or a background, when everything is rounded, and perhaps the questions in the exam, they come from the notes.
Yeah.
But in explaining that particular answer you have, you draw more of your subconsciousness. I don't know how to put it, but I don't know the word to use. When you read a variety of books, for instance, and someone asks you a particular question, willy-nilly, without your own consent or without knowing, you draw from here, you draw from here, you draw from here, and you produce something unique from what the lecturer actually gave you in the notes. That's why people read textbooks. So that's why people should read books. That's why you read wide. Now, I don't want to say read wide generally so that it becomes, okay, what books are we supposed to read? Just read the book for that course, for that particular course. If you can go through the beginning stages to the end of the book, you have a better chance excelling in that course, getting an A, than someone that just read just the notes from class. Notes from classes are good. Everybody would read notes from class eventually.
Everybody will. And the funny part is, people have different notes. While you're hearing A, another person just heard the A, B, C to Z and all of that.
Yeah.
So note differ.
Note differs. And
note is not sketchy.
Note is sketchy. And some person that even improve on the notes by going online. And
yes, I've seen someone like that.
That comes to the second point. Many times we are taught things that are theoretical, and and people usually dismiss what is theoretical, or many times we even dismiss the Nigerian educational system that they're teaching us something in the past. But we also forget that before you can know the future, you have to know the past.
Basics,
At least you
yeah.
move from the past to the future. Know the basics. If you have read the book, if you understand the principles therein, you can now go online and look for practical applications to it.
Yeah.
You can go online and see how these things have been done in practice. Let's say, for instance, you are reading about models of public relations or
Yeah.
mass communication or all these things. You can go online and find out how they practicalize this. So when you are writing your exams, you are not just defining terms and concepts. You eventually reproduce examples.
Very, very important. Giving examples while stating your point. You know,
Exactly.
I had the opportunity to speak with a professor, and she was telling me that you cannot get more than 10 in an over 20 question, a question that has 20 marks, right? You cannot get more than 10 without giving her concrete examples. So she said, if you write very well and she's impressed with you and there are no examples, you just get 10 over 20. And then I was shocked. And I mean, a lot of people just go into garbage out these definition of terms,
just cram
explanations,
and
and
repeat it and
no
just explain.
practical example. Wow.
So you have to provide examples. Now, examples are of different types. Sometimes you cook up examples.
Yeah.
Mr. A, Mr. B. That's nice.
Very true.
The one that's even better is when you have
Real
actual
life.
examples.
Yes.
When you could actually write about real life events
Yes.
that support exactly what you are saying, and it's beautiful. It's very, very beautiful.
It makes the read interesting. I mean, person will not just get bored reading what they dictated to you. They are seeing something new.
Very recently, I found out from a lecturer, a very senior friend, like a father. He told me that when he reads scripts, there are particular people's scripts that immediately he sees it, he keeps it aside. Those ones are enjoyable reads. He knows them over time. That when he sees this person's script, he wants to take time and read it. But if he sees these other people's scripts, other students, he knows that we are writing exactly what is the note, and possibly this person wrote copied from this other person. So it's essentially the note he gave. So he doesn't, if he wants to mark it, he doesn't pay so much attention. It's the same thing I gave you in class, you're just giving me. So he could score you maybe 10, like you said. But this other person is that he has known over time.
The heart
That-
is
so-
already open, you
So
know,
it's
to see.
enjoyable. He wants to
Very
know what this
true.
person added to it that he possibly did not know.
Very true.
So these are things that could be done using research tools. You find concrete examples of particular issues, particular concepts you're writing about. And he told me that's how he did it.
That's why you must be well read.
So you have to not just read the book. You have to expand. Look at sometimes it is true that some of the books we are using, maybe 2024, published in 2000.
Yeah.
So some of the things there are outdated, and still the lecturers still sell them to you.
Yeah.
But they expect that you move beyond what they give you. If you want to stick to what they give you, fine. Maybe for some lecturers it will work, but for some it doesn't. A lecturer particularly said that he rewards intelligent students. He said that you have to show a difference between, if you want an A, there should be a difference between an A student
And
a C
every
student.
other.
There should be a difference. The difference should
Very
be clear.
true, very
If you give him exactly what he gave to you, you get a C. You may possibly even make it to a B. Why would he will not give you an A? Because you'll be losing marks. There are no examples. You'll be losing marks here and there.
Very true.
But when you show that you not only read, you include your own thought, and that's why I encourage. I can't say I encourage them. Maybe I'm not an authority to speak on it, but I decide personally to be expressive in my exams. I go beyond the limit of don't write too much to the no, that's not my. Whether the lecturer likes short note or long note is not my problem. Personally, I ensure that I pour out what I know about that particular issue on the paper. Many times, many students try to ask questions like, what is this type of lecturer like? What is this type of that? Now, it's a good thing to know your lecturer so that you align what you're writing so that they understand. But sometimes, it is better for me to stick with your personality. When you meet a lecturer that likes reading 2 paragraphs alone and he has
Some
gotten
like
his score.
listing.
Yeah, some persons are like that. Some like lists before you explain. When you meet somebody like that and you know that you're not somebody that can be so restrictive to 2 paragraphs.
You know, there are people who are very good in putting everything in one sentence.
Bullet points.
You know, this English summary we did in secondary school, there are people who are excellent.
Brief.
And then there's some of us who know that.
Someone like me cannot function in that. So the best I do is I still give my exhaustive explanation of things, because I don't think I should do it so wide and you limit me to that cubicle of 2 paragraphs. What I do is that I list the points out, then I try as much as possible at the beginning and I summarize what I want to tell you before I go exhaustively to explain. And even when I explain, I ensure that any place I know is an important point, I underline it.
Okay, very important.
I try as much as possible to draw your attention to that particular.
I hope we're all taking notes, because I am too.
So I try as much as possible to draw your attention to that particular place, to show you that, okay, this is something I think you should see. If I want to write an example, I ensure that you know that this is an example. This is something I want you to see. That way, even though you don't like reading so much, you can see specific places, because lecturers are overburdened. That is the fact.
Very true.
Lecturers are overburdened.
Very, very true. I mean, having 300 students.
And you are taking 4
and then you're reading something really not encouraging. Then you're seeing some faint handwritings.
So, lecturers are overburdened. You, as a student, you have to provide as much help as you can to them, to make them aid you in your success journey. So if you just write no paragraphing, nothing, the man is looking at, just give me this thing in 2 paragraphs, and you gave him 2 pages, and you did not even ensure that he can point out to 1 or 2 things that would interest you.
Making sense.
He becomes bored. So your point may be towards the end, and he may not even get there, and that's the truth about the thing. It's not something that is commendable, that a lecturer would not read through your script to know.
But that's the reality.
It's not, but the reality is that a particular lecturer may be taking 4 courses, and not just 4 courses. He's taking maybe 4 different classes.
And then there's a deadline to meet.
And there's a deadline, and I don't know whether it's true, but I've heard it that if you don't meet the deadline, your salary may not be paid. You may get queried. All this kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's deadlines to meet, and the person will be reading thousands of scripts. So as a student, you have to help. If it means listing your point out, outlining them, so he sees that, okay, this person actually had the points correctly.
Yeah.
Then, if it means bringing some of the answers, the most important answers first. Bring the most important answers.
You're not trying to create suspense. It's not a novel.
So,
when you're trying to, write some light things in the beginning, and then in the end you eat it after you've gotten to the apex.
You bring in the most important answers first.
Yeah.
If peradventure a particular point gets lost in the middle of the work, you underline it, you bold it, you make sure, you even put note, NB, ensure that, okay, please read this place. There's something that there was an exam I sat for, and the first 15 minutes I did not even know what I was writing. Truth be told, I was just going around. Then definitely I eventually got there.
Wisdom came in.
I eventually got there. I had to write note, underline it, bold it. Please read here. This is where the thing starts making sense. This is where we could connect everything. And many times also, one thing people also do, one thing I learned to do also is I ensure that I conceptualize everything before I start the exam.
Every term.
Some years, briefly as I can.
Okay.
So that it provides me like a physical evidence.
Do you conceptualize to the teacher, to the lecturer, or on a separate book?
No, it's on the same book.
Okay.
If I'm asked a question, I try to define those brief terms.
Yeah.
Those terms as little as I can. I define them. It's not because I want to show the lecturer that I could define those things.
Some give marks for that.
Yeah, some actually do.
Yes.
It's because I know that, for me personally, I think faster than I write. Sometimes I may have written so much. I may have written something and I've thought of it since, but I've not seen it on the paper. I'll be like, I thought I wrote this thing. So I discovered that maybe it's a flaw for me or something. I think I've read something about it somewhere online, that there is a particular, it's not an illness, it's just a trait where you think that you've written something,
but you've not.
And you have moved. Eventually, you just realize that you did not actually write those important things you thought that you've written. So I provide those terms, list out my points, do all those things as fast as I can, so that when I'm eventually writing, I can see those things and add them together. So it helps my thoughts to put to answer the questions correctly. And for most lecturers, there are different types of people actually.
Yeah.
And for most of them that I've found, some persons enjoy you having opinions about issues.
Yes.
So when you are writing about a particular thing and there are different arguments, scholars have different arguments about it. Oh, this thing is defined this way, but this way is better. And if you can condense everything into one and have your own personal idea about it, because I studied, did not rely so much on authorities.
Yes.
There are different courses. Some persons, I think law relies on cases and authorities, where you have to say, this is the person that said this. After all, who are you to even have an opinion? But the course I studied, mass communication, allows you to look at different authorities and have an opinion about it.
Yeah,
and
you could just talk about the theories and all of that, but you can still
impute, you can still argue, provided you're arguing with facts.
Yes.
So if I have, let's say, 5 definitions, and this definition, scholars have said this definition has some flaw, this definition has some flaw, I try as much as possible to condense every definition into one that I would know that would be my own. So that way I can, immediately I reproduce that definition I originated myself. It has all the ingredients to answer all the questions I need in that particular topic or something. So if I have that kind of stuff, subsequently it works for me. Then there are other persons too that rely on I don't know how to call it. Is it acronyms or there's a particular word for it? So persons
remember those points. Some people make it songs, like they turn it into songs.
I don't know. I think there's a particular word for it. But some persons can gather those points into letters, and it works for them. For people have different memory capacity, and we are totally different sets of people. Some persons can actually cram well.
I've met someone that literally reads the book back to me, and I'm like,
rely on your strengths. Rely on your strengths. It is wrong for me, in my opinion, to tell such a person that don't cram. Cramming is bad. No, cramming is not bad for such a person. That is the kind of mind he has.
Yeah.
Some people's mind are analytical rather. Some is logical, some is progressive. Some persons have to move small. Some persons just can picture it. Photographic memory, they will picture it, bam. And when they are writing, they give you exactly, even with the page number. So rely on the strengths that you have. If you can cram, please do. If you know you cannot, know the strength that you have. Maybe you have to attend classes more. Maybe you have to read the notes over and over again. Maybe you have to read the textbook to comprehend what is being said. Maybe you have to even ask questions. So there was a particular class I was in, and I raised up a hand to ask, everyone was murmuring. And I felt somehow, because you know how it is.
I believe you're picking it, guys. Like, ask your questions. You're not owing anybody. There's nobody to be scared of.
So the class had gone for like 2 hours. And
okay, I can't relate.
So many persons, it is unjust to have a question at that time. It's unjust. But I was sincerely confused. Now there's a difference between asking a question because you want to show that you know one or two things. But there's another. At that particular time, I just needed to ask that question. And people were like, why are you asking? Sometimes friends actually came to me and said, people are complaining that you're asking questions in class, that you should calm down, take it easy. So I felt somehow. Then I realized, I went home and reality dawned on me after I paid school fees. I was a DE student, so I had to pay, in my second year, I had to pay 70,000, pay the normal school fees and still pay an extra 40,000. So I thought of it and I was like, I don't think these people know that I'm paying so much for this. Maybe, there's a way you get money. People give you money and you don't realize that this thing comes out of hard labor. Comes out of people's sweat, the effort your parents, your guardian, your sponsors put in. So for me, I realized that, and I had to do everything I could to ensure that I understood. So maybe it came from many people wanted to read, to have best graduating student and best graduating of the faculty, of the department of the school. I had no such plans. Mine was just that school is expensive. For me as a person, I've been in school for some years and millions have been spent, literally millions. Possibly, and I didn't go to the well-known secondary school. Some persons have even been spending millions before they entered into the tertiary institution. So for me, just the tertiary institution, more than 10 million have been spent. So if such amount of money could be spent, I have, even if my parents did not require it of me to come out with first class or 2-1, I owe myself to give my best. And if the best is first class, I should get it. If someone's best is 2-1, you should get it. If after everything you've done, you believe that 2-2 is your best, then give the best and get the 2-2. Something you could proudly stand even in front of those that had first class and say, with the condition and everything around my academics, I gave the best I did and I came up with something.
Wow. I believe you've seen a lot of secrets, right? Just to add from my own perspective before we ask the next question, another secret I usually applied, right? I believe, okay, the last semester of my final year as an undergraduate, I had my best results because it was more like a compendium of, the entire lessons I've learned, mistakes I've said I will correct and all of that. So I told myself, Claire, this is going to be your last push. Apply as many things as you saw while you progressed. You go to them and say, how did I even write this kind of nonsense in first year?
Exactly.
You get that kind of thing. So one thing I learned there was the use of jargons. Using the jargon of your your field, whatever your discipline is. For example, in mass communication, you're being told to, define communication, and you're saying communication is talking to one another. Hello? Yes, you just defined it, but that's too late to get an excellent score.
Yeah.
But when you begin to bring in terms that are related to mass communication, you're trying to define maybe public relations, and you don't add goodwill.
Okay.
You don't add things like your host community.
You don't talk about image.
You don't talk about image. Exactly. And all of those things, and you're just saying, trying to be friends with people around, building relationship. That's just a very lay idea, and it's not expected from someone who they believe is specifying in a course. So while you're about to write your next exam, be deliberate about putting in those jargons in your definitions while you are creating your points. Don't just use lay English language and just say, for example, you don't just say the person helping people to carry luggages in the airport. That's so lay. You could just say the porter at the airport helped out.
Yeah.
You've just gotten the right register that's used for airport. So I think one very important thing you should apply while writing your exams are registers, journalists, their language, whatever it is that they, some words that makes a lot of sense to those people. You cannot be doing economics and, for example, you don't use their inflation, deflation, fluctuation, and all their shons. You're going to be wasting so much time just writing the price went low. Hello, they will not even respect what you've just written. Another thing I now applied to was that I started applying theories. Yes, I felt like if I'm going to write differently from what other people were writing, go and read as many theories as possible. And then while even reading many theories, I started falling in love with theories. So when I was giving answers, I added theories that supported. I talked about some things. I included some perceptions I got about scholars, and I believe whoever will be reading that in another point, like, wow, this person is well read. And there's an excitement that comes when you wrote something reasonable.
Yeah.
Right? And then another thing I think I added personally was I worked on my handwriting. Have you seen that sometimes you make sense, but they can't read what you're writing, and then they just get tired from the beginning. So this person is just trying to look at what you're writing, and you're trying to just rush in the exam hall to write heaven and earth, but you're writing something that's really not legible. Something that they're trying to see, and the work is so clumsy, no spacing, no paragraphing, nothing. I tried to make sure that, Claire, you're going to be fast, but work and make sure that your handwriting is nice. I also added images where necessary. Yes, I decided to add. Like, I did not tell that people say you are doing it to know. I told myself, Claire, you must, and just for the records, I just got 1B in that last semester. Others were A. Why? I told myself, Claire, when they say you should use, like, when you're explaining now, that there are images that these people have.
You could actually add to it.
I add these diagrams. I add them and I explain what I have to say to these people. So these were some things that I personally did, and of course I used examples, real life. I was careful not to use any fabricated example except I was without any information. And trust me, we read mass communication. There's a lot happening in the world.
Exactly.
Just write what Tinubu did. Just write what Buhari did. Write what they did in foreign policy, what the economic trade did, and citing such examples. Okay, one major course, I got an A in and I was shocked. It was international communication. When they gave the questions, I was in shock. But I started using my journalistic skills. I started writing with the knowledge I had on the current happenings.
Yeah.
So with the little points I could remember, I was adding a lot of current happenings in the international communication world, what was happening, how it started in the past, and just with those things I wrote, I got an A and I was in shock. So you see, using examples can make your lecturer even forget that they should count the number of points you wrote. Some of them are getting 10 points, but they see you with 3 points, so rich a work. They say, no, what's the high score I've given? 15. The person is the 17.
Yeah.
You understand? Because it was a really interesting read, but not to bore you. Let's move to the next question. There are so many other secrets. If you want, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, so yes. So now we're going to be going over to the silent or innocent mistakes people do while preparing for examinations. What mistake do you think people do? Or no, beyond while preparing to achieve success from the beginning of the term, semester, and all of that. What are some mistakes, or even in the exam hall, or even while writing an exam, while reading for an exam, what are some mistakes you feel people do that end up affecting the output in the long run? Yeah.
Well, if I want to take it from a more broader perspective, when you look at students generally, I'm still a student anyway. So when you look at what we all go through, I think the first mistake we all make is that we don't think success is possible. I don't know.
I think it's for a selected few,
It's only I don't know how it happened. It's just very recently I discovered that when you speak with young persons and you tell them that, okay, in a particular semester I had 5.0, and they'll be like, person they get 5.0.
Some will be like, how can you finish from school without having a carryover? So someone told me it's not possible.
Some person said this. You do get.
Wow.
It's just only a few persons that got the information beforehand. Maybe somebody spoke with them and told them that you can actually get 5.0 in a semester. I never knew. Many persons told me I never knew. I said, why don't you think someone can have 5 or 8 in a semester? Why? When you don't know that it is possible, you don't even dream about it, you don't even pursue it. You may actually be reading. You may be reading, you may be doing everything. And there's a point where effort stops and faith comes in. You just know that you are going to excel. And as you put the effort, your subconsciousness knows that you are going to excel. And in the end, you eventually excel.
It means you must first win the mind game.
Yes, you must first know that it is possible. It is possible for you. It is possible, and it's an individual thing. Even if someone tells you that, when someone can actually sow the seed in your mind that, okay, someone has left this school before with 5.0, and you start aspiring towards it, at least, even if you don't believe it yet, even if you don't believe that you can even get it, you know that it is possible first before you start working towards aspiring towards it. So the first thing I think for students is that just know that whatever course that you had a D, maybe in your previous exam,
yes,
there is most likely the fact that somebody in your class had it an A.
There's every likelihood.
There's a likelihood. There's only one course I've taken in all this, in all the many courses I've taken that nobody had an A.
Same here.
Course. There's only one. But I know that before that particular own year, somebody must have had an A. And that course was, I think it was marketing in my polytechnic days. The highest we could get then was AB. I had an AB. So nobody in my year had an A, and that's only one course. Every other course, both in Federal Polytechnic to the University of Nigeria. Even if I may have a B in that course, somebody had an A. So once you realize that somebody can have an A in this course, if you decide that it is not you, it doesn't mean nobody will get an A. Regardless of how hard the course may be, just know first of all that it is possible to get an A there. Then you started at the right path. You know that it is possible to do well generally in the semester. And it is sad that we students don't look at exams schooling semester by semester. If you start looking at it year by year, you get into trouble. It's just one semester. This semester, it is possible to get out of your 9 courses, you can get 5 A's. The next semester, it is possible to get another 5. It's possible to get another 6. Just break it down. There's a reason why they didn't give us the whole 40-something courses at once.
Very true.
There's a reason why. Just take it step by step. It's possible that out of 10 courses, so when you meet a particular student and you say, out of the 45 courses in this university during your 4-year period, how many A's is it possible for you to get 30 A's? The person may see it as very big.
And say, no, now, like I like so I.
Yeah, when you tell the person that you just have 9 courses this semester, can you get 5 A's? It looks a little bit manageable.
Achievable.
It looks manageable. You can start. And by thinking of 5, some persons are looking at all. Some persons are actually looking at. So I think, first of all, it is that information, that knowledge. Then the next thing is hope. For me, I've shared it with as many persons because I had to find it out myself. Many times, seniors do the opposite of what they intend when they tell students that this department is hard, though, this department is hard. It is not easy here, mass comm, UNN. You want to lecturer. You want to get A in mass comm, UNN. This course is difficult. And it is true that they are passing information that particular students should put effort. Students should put effort in that particular area. But they always forget to tell the people that people succeeded there. Many times when you go around and you're telling them that this department is serious.
This links to what you said about using positive stories to encourage.
Exactly.
Rather than using negative stories. Yes.
Even if 150 people had carryover, and that's an extreme case out of 300.
How many passed?
150 still passed. Do you understand?
Very
An
true.
extreme case is 150. I don't think I've seen in the University of Nigeria where 150 students had carryover. I don't know so much.
I've never heard that.
But that's an extreme case. Out of 300, 150 still passed. And out of that 150, even if not everybody did not get an A, many had B's. So when you are encouraging people, telling them of the potholes to avoid, you show walking. You show evidence that many persons avoided this pothole. I've had to personally tell people that even though final years is strong and is taxing, not just because of the exams, but because of the activities surrounding the year, where you have to do your project, you have to go up and down, you have to final year is always very, very stressful. Even at that, people excel. Just like you said, people have their best results in final year. And I did not know when I was in final year, it was somebody, a past student that was just coming around doing her files. She was just discussing with another student. I said that final year I had the best result. I said, so it is possible to actually have the best results.
Very possible.
In your final year. This is against popular belief that the best result comes in your first year.
Yeah, and it drops and it keeps dropping.
So these things are what people don't know about. So when they mess up first year or they didn't do as much as they want to, and they get the second year and they just get tired.
I met a lady in the sciences, and in her first year she got 2 points or 3 points something, and then the same happened in her second year. And when she picked up, she did not get less than a 5.0 till she finished her 5-year course.
See, 5.0 every semester.
So the only problem was that because of she had those 2 years of very poor results, she made a 4 point, but not up to 4.5. I mean, she continued with a 5.0. So you see what this hope can do.
So she did
She
well.
just kept the hope alive.
She did well. Her story may even be more encouraging than somebody that eventually had the 4.5 from
the
first
beginning,
semester to the end. The person may still get the first, but her story may eventually be more encouraging.
I mean, she said lecturers started looking for her. Who is this student
that's always having A's?
Yes, from nowhere.
That is how it is. Sometimes, like I said, people are of different mindset. We're of different making. Some persons cannot understand what they are doing until third year, especially in mass comm. It's in third year that we really become specialized.
Yes, you start feeling like the journalist that you are.
So, first year, it's always you are running to philosophy, to GS, and all those troubles eventually affect people. There's somebody I know presently that is chasing first class and have good results started from third year. And it is the same third year that most people that have had good results dropped out.
Very true. Very, very true.
So that is how it is. So you have to ensure that you listen to those stories that can fill you with hope. People have had first class let's leave first class again. People have attained academic success, because that's what we are discussing. People have become successful in their academic. every course in the world, even in mathematics, in English.
Yes, there's no course that has people that have never.
French. No matter the course you are studying, first of all, realize no matter how hard that department is, it may be a long time that it has happened, but it has happened. If it has not happened before, you can be the first person that has happened. If it does not happen in your school, if it does not happen in your school, it has happened in other schools. People have excelled in that particular discipline. The question you have to answer is whether it will be you or not. Then practically for exam purposes, when people are having exams and what they should do, what they should not do, it is very, very enjoyable. For me, one of the things I started doing and I ensured I kept through with it is that I read until the exam starts. Now, for someone like me, like I said, I know the kind of mind I have. Even if I've read all through the night and the exam is, let's say, to start by 8 o'clock and eventually starts 9:30, that's 1 hour 30 minutes space is enough for me to lose focus. So I ensure that I read until sometimes I even bring my material into the exam hall. I sit down while we await the question paper and the answer script. I keep going through it until the lecturer says, "What is your problem? The script is here." I'll say, "Sorry." There will be no instance where the lecturer will slap you or flog you or even send you out. You just beg the please, I want to finish up. And you ensure that it is open. You are not trying to hide the material. It's on your table. There was a time I had to go to the exam hall with a laptop. The material I was reading was on the laptop. I kept it on top of the table and I was reading. They had even instructed, take out your bags, take out every gadget with you. I had not finished and I looked around. The question paper and the answer script were not available and it took like 30 to 1 hour. I stayed there and I was reading, boldly reading. If they ask me, I'll say, please sir, I can even go outside and stand just so that I don't give that time.
Yes.
Because in many exams, it's just one of those things that I've read before and I just glanced through again. That helped.
What I did in all my exams, though I would not advise it, is that I don't come to the exam hall until that time. It's not an advisable thing because it depends on your school, right? I know that they don't really do this check-in in mass where they have to call names. There are people that 30 minutes before time they start calling names. But for us, I know that once it's that time, they're sitting down. So I just stay in my hostel because it's close by, or I hang around, but not where people are gathered. And once that time is maybe, it's just 3 minutes that time, I walk quickly, enter the hall. I just feel like I should not waste any time because, I mean, there's always so much to discover.
The truth is, you can never read enough. It's only for me, that's what I believe. There's some person that read to the point where they've found the gauge and they're like, no, I've done it. They can go and sleep. A person like that. I know someone that reads and must sleep 5 hours before the exam. Civil engineering, I came out with a good result, 2-1. I was like, wow. So you must sleep 5 hours before the commencement of the exam.
Yeah, there are people like that.
They're wonderful. You see that 5 hours of sleep, that's the 5 hours I need to keep looking at it.
I'm someone that I'm sure I can't sleep off in the hall. Even if I did it till daybreak, I can't sleep off in the hall, no matter how boring that exam is.
My mind keeps telling me that you have an exam that's sleeping.
I mean,
so for me, I think it's just realizing that academics is worth the while.
Yes.
Just realize we don't know how we would apply these things. First class doesn't mean that you become the most successful in life. No, you are taking it too far. It's just showing diligence at that particular time. Then when we are looking at other things about, there's one particular thing I learned. I learned that then I usually go with lots of pens because you know how it is. One could disappoint.
Yeah.
So there's one particular day I was with black and blue, and I wrote that particular exam starting with a black pen, and eventually the pen gave up on the way. And luckily I had a blue pen. I looked around. Well, is it not pen?
I'm someone that I write to my teachers actually.
Okay.
Like someone like me, if I'm in that case, I'm going to put under, please, my blue ink pen finished along the line. I cannot afford to leave it to your discretion and to think that somebody came somewhere to help me write or something just happened or I picked up the script after the exam.
Yeah. So it was a mistake I made. I just continued. I was like, well, they will know it's my handwriting anyway. So it's not like someone wrote it for me. The lecturer had to come later on and said, you are the one, that's the way he knew me. It was like, Chukwumezi Odo Chukwu. I said, so you are the one that wrote with black and blue pen. And then my parents said, don't try it again.
Don't try it.
And it happened again. So it's something that could make you lose your marks, especially when the external examiners are looking at the student and are wondering when this should, and they may not. You would expect that they would look at the script and see that the thought continued. It was not something that was eventually done later on.
Yeah.
But if you actually read the script, you would know that the thought continued. But they would not give you that benefit of doubt. They may just lose everything.
Feel like.
Then there's also by coming to the exam hall. Now I'm not talking about modest dressing or immoral dressing. No, I'm talking about looking good while coming to the exam and try to smile regardless. The reason is because it gives you some form of confidence when you've read and you come to the exam properly dressed. For me, it affects how I
feel
approach.
ready. You feel more prepared.
It's
Or
almost
when you're coming so scattered and
you
you're
are
trying
just
to pick
coming
up
and you are tying your hair, you are just pulling one shirt.
sweat all over.
So that's why I never run to the exam hall. I ensure that I walk to the exam hall. And when I finish the exam, I always relieve and laugh and smile. There's nothing you can do at that point that will affect the outcome of the exam.
You know when they start arguing, start talking, what's the number one answer? And you realize that
No, I learned not to do that. The reason I learned not to do that is not because sometimes I can be with friends and their particular answers were wrong. But when you see that person, I had to learn it. When you see that person at that point in time, the person is hopeful.
yes.
The person is hopeful.
Yes.
Now, when they see you that they consider better than they are,
Intelligent, yes.
and they ask you, Udo, please, that's number one. What did you answer? If I look at that person and the person is hopeful, and I hear what the person said, I'll just tell the person, let's forget about it, whether we are right or wrong. You understand? Because when you eventually tell the person that he or she
Demoralizes the person.
failed that exam, the person loses hope. And life is spiritual. Life is spiritual. Many persons have written well and may not have come out with their anticipated score. Why some persons that, even for me, there are some exams I was like, are you sure I even know what I wrote? And eventually I made sense. Perhaps to the lecturer and not even to myself. So life is spiritual. If such a person loses hope and confidence, then it may just be the undoing of not just that exam, but the entire examination. Maybe that person must have given his or her all, thinking that he or she made sense. And with all the sense on or incorrect answers that person may have, it may eventually be a B. You get? The result may eventually be a B, but at that point in time, you have killed hope. You have even killed the zeal to give it all. So if the person asks, what is the point of reading the next one? When if I read so much, according to Udo Chukwu, I did not get the last one. What hope? That way. So for me, I personally avoid that conversation. When someone asks me, is it A or B or C, or is it this explanation? I'll just say, please, I'm tired. I'm very tired. Let us just forget about this thing.
I don't even want to discuss that personally. I run away from it.
It's only very few persons that I know can handle it.
Yeah.
That I know it is because of our because I'm that inquisitive too.
Yeah.
After the exam, I would find a particular corner and try to see whether I got some of the things right, or at least if I was making sense. That is me. So I know that there are some persons like me that could handle it. They will tell me, don't worry, whatever you want to say. Whatever you want to say, show me the book letter, and I must know over time that it will not affect that person. The person is always only looking for improvement, or just to answer particular questions in his or her head.
Yeah.
But if it's just the general people that like, Udo, did I try? Look at this work for me. Am I making sense? Sometimes I find it even in students, when they finish writing very good work, they still need that validation.
Yes.
That they did well.
Right.
And you eventually see, sometimes people present me with project work. And the only thing I just go to it, and they've done very, very well. You see the person timid on so much in the work. No, I've not. I've just looked at it and just told the person, you have tried. You have done well. Allow the lecturer to correct. After all, he's supposed to supervise you.
Yes.
If you provide a perfect work, he's not doing anything then. Allow him do some of the corrections. And you see that person becomes
confident,
enlivening. The person is happy and confident. Sometimes that's just what some persons need. So that one is also there. So don't kill your hope after a particular exam. Don't kill your hope. Still be hopeful. Even though you've written whatever you think you've written, still be hopeful. Then answer your questions well. Collect extra sheet if you need to explain things. It is part of the money you paid for school fees. that when you need an extra sheet, you receive it and you explain. Perhaps, even for a particular lecturer told me that I was actually in his office and he showed me a booklet and said, look at what a final year student wrote. The booklet was as empty as. The person was giving, there's one thing called key points during YF.
Yeah.
That small booklet that covers the whole thing.
Yes.
The person was giving key points, one line explanation. See, how can you be asked to discuss this thing as a final year student after having gone through
first year
more than 6 semesters in that particular discipline, and this is the only thing you can produce? So sometimes it is okay. Many times it is okay to discuss everything. For me personally, pour out everything you can pour out on that particular thing you're at. Give your all there, so that, because you know now, I've had so many B's in this school. 68, 67, 68, 67. And anytime I see something like that, just like I said, I could have possibly gotten an A there if I had just explained maybe something better. So I ensure that when I'm discussing something, I pour out everything I can pour out on that thing. It means sometimes I look for extra sheet when the lecturer passes me or supervisor, just so that it doesn't become obvious. I just say, please, I need 1 or 2 extra pages. The man will just nod and codedly, as we usually say, bring it to me.
Yeah.
But some persons will raise up their hands. Please,
or walk to the front.
Or walk to the front. No, I don't. I try to avoid.
Wow. So guys, as you're listening, if you have any question at this juncture while we discuss, kindly hit the comment section and let me know if you have a question. I'm looking at the comment section from time to time. So if you have a question, kindly hit the comment section and let me know, because we're coming to an end very soon. Yeah, go on.
So that's also part of it. Exhaustively explaining what you want to explain. There are still several others still on the aspect of dressing properly. Some persons get distracted when they are improperly dressed.
Very true.
Let's say a particular lady wears something that doesn't suit what we say as modest to attend the person may be extreme.
And just
for
hear that
lecture.
this lecturer is here. It just destabilizes you.
I know someone that was sent home to go and get dressed. The exam continued. So rushing into the exam after 1 hour
of what
sweating, you must have biked your way to and fro, or you walked, and you're putting yourself under unnecessary stress. Even in OCO, then when you are writing the exam, you'll be required to shave off your beard. Wow. Then when we are taking exams. Wow. So these things will be done. The school you are in. Why not just do these things ab initio?
Yes, and just
come to school
or come peace.
At least for the exams and have some peace of mind. There's too many stress in school. I'm not saying these things are right or wrong. That's besides the point. But what we are just saying is just take your exams and go. Now that's for then at the aspect of conduct in exam hall. Conduct in exam hall, it's a very debatable issue, whether one should talk in the hall or not speak in the hall. But the point is, one mistake people make while coming to write the exam is that they depend too much on friends.
Yes, formation.
You depend so much on friends, and you may not have such persons around you during the exams. Some lecturers derive joy in scattering your formation, changing 433 to 442. Do you understand? So
when
you don't prepare to stay alone in an exam and give your best, it's part of it. For me, I would advise you go to an exam knowing that it's only you and God that is right.
Just know that.
So that you
don't even depend on the stuffs you wrote down in a paper.
Don't depend on sitting whether you are sitting at the front or at the back, or whether they removed you or changed you.
There was a time I was at the entrance of into an exam hall. I happened to just be among the people in the front, and this lady just pushed me when they opened the door, and I wanted to get offended. I said, let me just see what she's going to do. I just saw her going to kiss it. When someone kept space. All through the row behind her, the row in front. I say, wow.
So if, for instance, she's removed from there, the lecturer is a bad person. But there are particular courses where there are departments in this school where you sit according to your name, the appearance of your name on the class list. So you must be ready for things like that, so that wherever you are seated, no matter who you are with, you can give your own best. Now, we can now debate whether or not it is good to speak in the exam hall and ask questions for clarification, or that I would leave that to the school rule or the school policy on exam conduct.
Yeah.
But the one you should do as a person is go to the exam hall preparing to stay alone. If, as it you would have it, you eventually get somebody that sits with you, that both of you can communicate without the lecturer knowing and penalizing you for it, fine. If you don't believe that, but at least make sure that you know that you are prepared to do what? To stay alone. It helps in this life, just like in the exams. There are many instances where you will do what? You would have to stand alone.
Someone asked a question. The person said, how can I handle difficult questions during an examination?
Well, every question has an answer. That's one thing I started telling myself. I usually pray then, and I would say that whatever I write is the correct answer. So for me, it's I'm sorry, but it's just me. You get it's how I approach things. So when there's a particular course, that was the first exam I took in university here, and the course is history of Nigerian mass media. Then it was taken by Professor Okon.
I'm aware. Like, because it's just a particular course, I can remember clearly.
So when we asked that question, it was a purely practical question, and for the first 15 minutes, I was wondering what was happening in the hall, because I was sweating from my hair.
Who showed me that question?
I was wiping my hand. I was just wondering what exactly I was supposed to write. Then eventually, difficult questions, you can, for many persons, I tried to approach it from a practical aspect. I defined all the small terms I could, say a little bit about the history, then we connected it to what he required. I found out eventually that I did well in the course. I think I had 48 out of 70. Wow. That was a lot. That was a lot. Considering the course, it was a lot. So I feel when you find difficult questions, you calm down. There's a reason why,
step by step,
especially when that question is a compulsory question, there's a reason why it is required to be compulsory. Sometimes you have to explain terms. Sometimes you have to write everything you know. Sometimes you have to relate it to the examples. Sometimes you can start with examples, an analogy, before you even start talking about the attempting the questions. When you have questions like, let's say, there's a particular question then in media law. That was in my polytechnic, just media law. We did it media law before we took media. We did media ethics before we took law.
All right.
So on the law part, they asked a very practical question. Something like a local government chairman was a member of the local government council or parliament, whatever it's called, in a particular nation or something like that. He was explaining something and he casted aspirations. That means he insulted a particular person or another member of parliament or the council. And after the session ended, reporters met him outside and he was asked to explain what he meant inside why the session was on. And the question was that he expounded on what he said. Has he committed? If he's taken to court, would he lose the case? Something of that sort. Is it libelous? Now, when you see something like this, if you have read properly, you would know that when the parliamentary session is on or legislative session is on, whatever you say there is covered by absolute privilege. You can say whatever you say.
Yeah,
but the key word in that question, all the whole is just expounded. It means the man may have said that his fellow member of parliament is mad. When he came out, when the session had ended, to the press, and said he's not only mad, he's stupid. You understand? He added more information. That makes it actionable. So sometimes it is just particular words that would diffuse the question and make it less difficult. Sometimes it's examples. Sometimes the text, the question can be directly drawn from the textbook.
And some of these seemingly difficult questions, in the beginning, they just give this long grammar, just in 3 or 4 words, you get the real question.
That's CDR now.
Yes, so you just have to focus on what are they asking. Just look
What
through.
exactly
They
is the
tell you this
question?
person has 5 eggs, did this and that. Just in the end, the family business thrive.
That's the
Do you
question.
understand? That's the main question there.
So
For me, you're trying to dissect how many eggs he has.
you
And
get lost.
yes.
The most important, that's why it's usually said that you have to know English to even succeed
To understand
academically, to even understand it.
instructions.
Just make sure you know what exactly the question is. There are many things that will try to get your attention. What exactly are they asking from you? You may have to break down certain words. You may have to, and many times I can state it as a fact that most of the questions that are considered difficult are practical questions.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you've been
Questions are not just what is rice.
not is what is libel, what is slander, what is mass communication. In this day and age, most people don't even ask such questions. Most lecturers don't ask such
How you can solve a problem.
If you've been reading across the line of attempting to use examples in addressing questions in example, when you see a practicalized situation, you must have seen similar examples. Sometimes the examples used were drawn from the textbook, but it is difficult because you did not read the textbook. You only read parts of the book,
Very true.
not all of the book.
Very
So if you are looking at real life examples and you read your book and you are for a particular discipline, mass communication, and you are tuned with what is happening in the society, you'll be fine. There's a particular course that's a feature and interpretive writing. In the year when I wrote it, we wrote it together.
Yes.
When that question was the script was presented to me, everybody shouted, "Hey, because not because the questions were so to say difficult, but because it was current affairs.
Yeah, Buhari's
So what was
agenda.
happening at that
something
particular
like that.
time? I remember magazine and article where they write
Ngulumili.
Ngulumili. And I know somebody that wrote that Ngulumili is good drinking habits.
Oh my God.
You have to drink, how to conserve water and use
Oh
water.
my
I know
God.
the person that
Oh
wrote
my
something
God.
like that. Because later on she was
Maybe
saying something,
pouring a cinnamon milk. You know.
something like alum,
Yes.
clean, and all of those. So if such a person, and it was during the time we were having problems with methamphetamine. We're having problem with that particular drug. People were taking it, people were losing consciousness, mad people, mad young people were everywhere as a result of drug usage. So if such a person had been in tune with the times,
Yes.
you would have discovered that
Know what's happening
know what's
online.
happening. They were different. The way I could even answer that question is even funny. The way I knew of Nkurunmi, I did not really, I didn't have, then I was without an internet enabled phone. So my phone was faulty then. The way I found out about Nkurunmi was I went to a friend's place, took her phone. She was still in my class. We were discussing. We took her phone and I was viewing status. She just showed me, okay, view status now. I was just viewing status. So I was viewing status of how people were talking about Nkurunmi. People were running mad. She now showed me, you've not seen. No, I was not viewing status. She was viewing the status. I was complaining about it. So I viewed and said, what is happening? She just stood there and gave me the whole gist from beginning to end.
And that was a saving.
So that was what I took in the exam. When I saw it in the exam hall, it was practically what I wrote. I'm telling you. It was essentially, I had to write, when we were told to write an article about it, I had to write beginning from the part where communities were flogging young people that not only took the drug, but also sold it. I think her name is Onyewalu Ogechi Faith. It was from her phone. It was from the gist that she gave me that I answered the exam.
Wow.
So if you are in tune with the times and you follow examples many times,
Man,
God
guys,
faithful, he would help.
guys, you know, this gist will not end today at all. And the more we are discussing, the more I'm seeing many more questions to ask. But our time is really, really fast spent. So I'm going to be just giving an opportunity to give us his last words for now, but we call it a day.
Well, I think there's a lot to say.
That's
and
it.
A lot has been said. There is no end to the world.
At all.
I
At
don't
all.
think there's anything new. Perhaps maybe there is, but many persons know of these things but need to be reminded. That's what Paul said. You need to be, you know these
Yes.
things, but you need to be reminded again and again and again that school is not scam.
At all.
You may not profit directly from it, but indirectly you may. You build your person. Sometimes we study not because of ourselves, you may be the person that will teach your daughter how to read, how to study properly, and to her it will not be scam. Maybe you may have to go into skills. You may go into skills eventually, entrepreneurship. But what your schooling will do for you, aside from the exposure, is that you have children and you really sit them down. And that discipline you have to learn through hard work of studying, you just give it to them as a grace. It's just like when you find a mother that is a tailor, or she's into catering services and she has 2 daughters. Those ones don't need to go to catering school to learn how to bake cake and all those. They just pick it up at home. They become seamstresses, and from there they develop it. So some of the things you pick by studying, by being focused in your academics, they may be gifts you would have to impact later on.
Very true.
Some of them, it may be something you have to use in your place of profitable employment. Some of them could be ideas. From reading so many things, you have triggered your brain to think wide, to understand concepts, to look at things. Just like Solomon did. Look at trees, look at ants, and pick wisdom. So these are some of the things that, so school is not camp. For me, it is not. For me,
Not as well for me.
I'm proud that I came to school and I gave my best. I did the little I could with the help that God gave me. And when I look at the result, yes, it's just a piece of paper there lying in my file. But the lessons I learned, the friends I made, the relationship I have with people, these are the things that eventually would make me. So school is not scam. Please give your best so that you can boldly say that you actually gave your best. Then my last word is there's an end to effort.
Very true.
Yeah, effort is good, but you need much more than effort. You need hope. You need to believe in yourself. It is easy. I've noticed that it is easier for people that everybody believes in to succeed. So you have to find a way to create the environment that people believe in you. You need some measure of faith to excel. It is harder if you are the only one that believes in yourself in all the world, you against the whole world. You may not eventually win. But by attending lectures, by being conscious about your assignments, before you know, your friends, even if they say 20 people failed the course, your friends will be like, Udochukwu. No, Udochukwu did not fail.
Oh, they'll say, if Udo fail, that means...
everybody has something like that.
Everybody's...
So unconsciously, people contribute faith to
you
your
create
success.
a standard as well.
You create an environment where even though you are struggling like they are struggling in that particular course, the small faith you have and their own small own contribution. I'm not talking about strengthening them now. I'm talking about them believing in you even more than you believe in yourself.
Okay,
so they
yes.
contribute faith so that you excel. They may not even believe in themselves. They'll be like, me, I know if I can get E in this course, I've tried. But you that you have not even started reading, you're still struggling. And they'll be like, Udochukwu. No, Udochukwu must have read. And you've not read. They say he must have read. He would excel. They pray for you. They contribute faith to your rising. And there's also the place of God. We cannot be discussing faith and God without faith and success. The Bible says that it is God that gives good success. God gives good success. So if you are going through academics, pushing walls and breaking barriers on your own, it will be hard. It will be hard. There's a reason why out of a particular school, you would not find more than 300 with first class, even though you have 10,000 people there, or 20,000 or 30,000 people there. There's always a reason why it is like that. And it's not because anybody is stopping anybody. You need God to actually excel. Some persons may excel without God. True. In that definition of excellence with great point. But for me, I needed God and God helped me. So I cannot attribute all the success I've had, the little that I've had with just studying books, with just going to classes, going for night classes, or having friends. Yes, I believe that it was God that created the conditions necessary for me to even attain the little that I've attained. So I think that's my last word. God.
Oh,
God.
Right. Okay, we have really, I think, I feel like I've eaten Indomie belly full. Guys, and I'm telling you, it's no longer a cheap thing. So I have gotten so much value, and I believe strongly that you have as well. So to get more value from us, to keep tuned with us. If you're not following this page already, I think you're wrong. So go to the page, My School News, yes, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on different social media handles. Follow us, like our page, so that whenever we come live again, you're going to be here with us. If you've not shared this video, kindly do that now. Hit the comment section and tell us a very wonderful farewell. On this note, we're going to be closing the curtain. We don't have a curtain, but we're closing it with our minds right now. Until we meet again, have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
My School News TV, giving you a voice. My School News TV, giving you a voice.